Florida. Now, President Biden spoke by phone with House Speaker Nancy Pelosi today to offer her congratulations. And they also released a statement. The White House released a statement from the president celebrating this win. That statement says, today, the United States House of Representatives passed the Build Back Better Act to take another giant step forward in carrying out my economic plan to create jobs, reduce costs, make our country more competitive, and give working people and the middle class a fighting chance. The White House hopeful that this bill will make good on some of those campaign promises Biden made back in 2020. But they are also keenly aware of the steep climb that this bill will face up in the Senate, as there are expected to be major changes made to the bill in order to win support from people like Senator Joe Manchin. But today, it's a moment of victory. We will see the president a bit later today for pardoning the turkeys, the annual tradition, and certainly he's likely to comment as well there.
We could bet on that. We could bet on that. Arlette Saenz, thank you. Let's get straight up to Capitol Hill now. CNN congressional correspondent Lauren Fox. Lauren, as Arlette notes, again, the president can see the finish line, but there is still his old haunts, the United States Senate. What's next?
Well, this morning, House leaders really jubilant. The House Speaker really moving around the House floor as this vote was ongoing, knowing that she was going to be secured a victory that for weeks was outside of her grasp. But what we saw this morning was House leaders really doing a victory lap, even while they acknowledge there's more work to do in the Senate.
It's a big win for the people, for the average working men and women of America, for those who struggle every day and hope that somebody is on their side.
What an incredible morning. What an incredible vote. What an incredible time for the American people to be seen and heard.
The Senate will do what it thinks it can do, and we'll come together on behalf of the American people and try to have a coordinated approach as we go off into the future. I don't fear.
But of course, the key question there, what will the Senate do? Specifically, what will Senator Joe Manchin, the moderate, who is much watched from the state of West Virginia, what will he do? He made it clear earlier this week he may be comfortable with the bill coming to the floor of the Senate before the Christmas break, but he hasn't made any assurances that he would be a yes on that piece of legislation. He also has major changes he's going to want to see in this bill. One of them, the fact that this legislation that passed the House today includes paid family leave. That is a policy that Joe Manchin has said he supports, but not using a Democratic-only process like reconciliation. John?
More to come after the Thanksgiving holiday. Lauren Fox, appreciate the live report up on the Hill. And with me in studio on this big day to share their reporting and their insights, CNN's Dana Bash, CNN's Ryan Nobles, and McClatchy's Francesca Chambers. Before we get to the politics, this is both a legacy of the last campaign. It's what the Democrats ran on in 2018 and 2020, and it will be the defining debate of the next campaign as we move forward. So let's just show what's in the House version of this. $273 billion for child care. $205 billion for paid leave. That's a big question mark, as Lauren just noted in the Senate. Universal pre-K, electricity tax credits, home health care help, Obamacare subsidies, and even more. Yes, there's a lot of politics to talk about, but in terms of policy, Dana, the challenge for Democrats now is to tell the American people, look, we're doing what you like. The Republicans have said big spending, you're liberals, you're socialists. If you go through those individual items, most of them are very popular.
That's exactly right. And the challenge that they have is what people, if they've been tuning in, they've heard is Democrats fighting one another, reconciliation. What does that mean? To me, they have no idea. Trillions of dollars and the fight over the price tag, not the specifics. And that is because of the nature of the sausage being made. I cannot tell you how many Democrats I've spoken to, I'm sure you have as well, on Capitol Hill, who have said explicitly, we need to do better about messaging, which is going to be the whole ball game over the next few weeks. They're going to be home for Thanksgiving break. They're going to be doing whatever it takes to explain the things that are in this bill that really will affect their lives. And the question is whether or not it's too late, because Republicans have already tried to, and in some ways successfully, defined it as a big liberal spending bill. I talked to some moderate Democrats. Actually, I went with Josh Gottheimer back home to New Jersey, and he insists it's not, because there are some things in there, like the Northeastern Democrats especially, they can say, we're going to lower your taxes if that goes through.
Well, that's one of the big debates as we move forward to the Senate. The one House Democrat who voted no, Jared Golden of Maine, he tends to be a more conservative or centrist Democrat anyway. He says he doesn't like this state and local tax deduction that was wiped out in the Trump tax cuts. that, if you live in a state with high taxes, you get to deduct some of that from your federal tax return. That is a huge issue for Bernie Sanders when we get over to the Senate. He says, why are we giving tax breaks to wealthy Americans? Is that one of the things likely to be changed?
Well, what I thought was interesting was Sanders' first response to the passage of the Build Back Better bill. He said that he welcomed it, but that the Senate was going to strengthen the bill. So define strengthen? For Bernie Sanders, it would be getting rid of the SALT deduction because he believes that it benefits the 1% as he describes it. But I do think that what you've seen from Sanders here is a different posture in his position than the majority of his career in the Senate. In the past, he's been the guy that's like the purist. I only want this if it's the most progressive policy ever. But here we see a man in the sunset of his career, the head of the Budget Committee, the Sherpa, if you will, of this bill in the Senate. He wants to get something done. So will he concede on something like this? Because at the end of the day, he sees $1.9 trillion in spending for a lot of issues that he's cared about over the bulk of his career. He's already made a lot of concessions. But I think at the end of the day, he's probably willing to come to the table and allow something like this.
And I think part of that, and then the question becomes, if the progressives like Sanders are willing to do that, what about Sinema and Manchin on the centrist side? If you talk to them, they more and more are there. They may not be completely there yet, but they understand in the next campaign, Republicans are going to be just like this. This is the House Republican leader, Kevin McCarthy. No matter what the Democrats do, if this bill passes or if this bill collapses, Republicans are going to say this.
Speaker Pelosi has crammed even more radical policies into a partisan bill that costs trillions in dollars we don't have, for government-run programs that nobody wants. What we have before us isn't a social spending bill. It's a pathway to socialism.
Now, it's not a pathway to socialism. It simply is not. And a lot of it is popular, but that's the Republican framing of the campaign, which is why Nancy Pelosi says, actually, if we pass this bill, we can go to the American people and say this.
We have the Build Back Better bill that is historic, transformative, and larger than anything we have ever done before. If you are a parent, a senior, a child, a worker, if you are an American, this bill's for you, and it is better.
And that's the president's challenge now on the Senate side, to tell Democrats, look, we need to campaign on this. If we don't have this to campaign on, we're done.
And two key policy changes that we've touched on here. Look, on paid family and medical leave, advocates are arguing that it's very popular and it should be included. But Senator Manchin does not believe that this bill is the place for paid family leave. He hasn't changed his position on that and continues to believe that it could get bipartisan support potentially as a standalone bill at some point in the future. When you talk about the state and local tax deduction and compromises that could be made on that, one pathway forward that's being talked about is having anyone who makes under $400,000 a year, lifting the cap on that for them. The White House, where are they at on this? They're a little agnostic, to be honest. They've been saying that this isn't something that the president ever wanted in the first place, but understands that in order to get this bill passed, that might need to be what's in a final version of the bill. So can they come together around something like that? $400,000 obviously being the number that the president has typically put forward as well.
Right, the new Fox News poll accentuates the challenge for the Democrats to get this done and then try to tell people that this is good for you. Is the Biden administration focused on the right issues or the wrong things? 54% right now say the wrong things. 40% say the right issues. The challenge for the president is to sign this and then to be able to go out and campaign and say, actually, free pre-K, expanded child care options, landmark investments in climates, that's the right thing.
That's it. It's all about communications. It's all about messaging right now. And it's the sound bites that you just played, Nancy Pelosi explaining what's in it beyond Build Back Better, because it's a nice slogan, but nobody knows really what it means, versus Kevin McCarthy claiming it's socialism.
It's what I do when I trash the Legos and have to put them back together. I built them back better.